All right, cool. So, hi, what's up, everyone? So, welcome to this live stream. And this one is actually about sharing some tips of the Sonic pads. Still back to our Sonic pad topic. Finally, we had a deal of many deals in the Christmas promotion and Black Friday promotion, and this is the shopping season, right? And after this, the promotion has it's still going on at the moment, but the heat is going down, down and down, and I understand that. And today we are promoting the very specific product, which is Sonic Pad. And this one, I don't know how many of you guys have already got one in your hand, or you're still waiting to purchase one in this year, particularly because the Sonic Pad has since it's firstly released by on in August, it hasn't got any of the promotion on this particular product. Like you never seen the Sonic Pad is on any promotion, is on any discount. So at the end of the 2022, we would also would like to join into the shopping season, which is Christmas, early Christmas, and we have got some really limited circles in this promotion. Like we are giving out $20 or €20 or 20 pounds. It depends on where you live in. So all of you guys can have a opportunity to purchase one at $20 off or €20 off. All right. So this is probably the first and the biggest promotion during this year for the Sonic Pad. And if you still have your mind up, have your mind set, you can probably take a look at this promotion here. And these promo code that I am going to offer you is only lasting for 2 hours, which is exactly during this live stream. And now I'm going to show you the code of it. And if you are turning or upgoing to purchase one, you can just use these PAD20. Okay, as long as you find these product into the our official online store, no matter which area you are in, like as long as we had a online store in your local place, like the United States site and the British site, the Euro site. No matter where you are, you can just click into the specific page of our product, this Sonic Pad, and go click the purchase button and enter into this PAD20 as the promo code. You can get $20 or €20 or 20 pounds straight down. All right. I hope you guys can, grab some bargains in through this live stream. And as we also always put it out, is like in our live stream we would like to give you the first information and the very helpful information to you and to some of the users you have in using of this product. And Creality Sonic Pad, we got a lot of things going on recently, so we have updated the version of the Sonic Pad. So until this moment, I think most of you have already known that this Sonic Pad can be able to connect with different printers, multiple printers, up to 4 printers at the same time. You can use the Sonic Pad at the uh, the terminal to control on different printers and to give different printers different orders. And I don't know how. Very functional you think it is, or have you already tried it out, the actual using experience of this function? But we have got really experienced user from us, from the one of the Creality Sonic Pad user, which is Luke. Some of you guys are also familiar with him. So is Luke 3D. We have invited him into this live stream today and to share to all of you guys some of his worm tips or pros and cons of using the Sonic Pad, especially using the function of multiple connection. So I hope if you have the goals and the Sonic Pad yet, today is a chance because we have $20 off in today in only this live stream for 2 hours only. Okay, and if you already have one, it's still worth you to to view this live stream because we have got Luke to share some tips with us together, and probably some of his point can solve your problem that you have also encountered before and give you a better solution of your connectability. And yeah, I think most of the Creality printers are all have been you know compacted. So yeah, will any other new board only printers come with silent? Yes, the answer is yes, Wagner. So silent board, we are opening, at least for most of the new printers that going to be released in next year. Most of them will have a silent board. And so, guys, you can, ask out any of the questions you would like to know by using the Sonic Pad, and we will collect it. Sometimes I didn't have the time to pick you up during this live stream, but after the end of the live stream, we will collect all your questions and to refer to different colleagues of me, yeah, that can be able to solve your problem. Then we are also developing the the software at the moment, so we will have more new versions coming out to solve specific problems that is existed problems, and we will release a better version in future. Okay, and don't forget to take a look at the bargain deals today. And now let's welcome Mr. Luke to give us his using experience on his Sonic Pad. Okay. So
Hello.
say hi to everybody, Mr. Luke.
Hi. You're coming to me, or I'm coming to you from my hotel room lab. I've been building printers this week. I turn Amazon printers on the side, where I buy them from Amazon sellers, and I refurbish them and then move them on. After getting some of that work done this week, I have lighting problems because I was going to show you guys the setup from the other end, but I have the Sonic Pad set up. I am working with it right now on an Ender 3 V2 standard. I did not go through the whole library of what's available, but it looked to be that there was at least 20 some odd models of the current generation that were available as of right now on the thing. While I'm an expert in the 3D printing space, I am not a clipper expert, and Creality sent me this so that I could share what I learned with the community and also help them in the community, because as I learn what other people will struggle with. So in this particular case, I am not the expert. I'm going to share some of my experience that I've had. I have been doing some of my own research from others that have been putting time in. That's what a lot of us experts do. We go through and audit other people's work, take keynotes, and then test and play around with them, and then form our own opinions or come up with our own workarounds. So you're catching me in the early part of my process. I have not gotten into having 4 printers hooked up at once, but I have done a little bit of research, so I can speak to a little bit of that just from what I've seen some of the other users playing around with. But it's a new world for me. For those that aren't familiar with me or whatever, I've been beta testing for Creality for over 4 years now, I think. I don't catch every new model, but I catch lots of new models. I narrowly missed getting to name Goliath, or excuse me, the CR10 Max. His name was going to be Goliath, but we had a conflict with another manufacturer's name for their product, so that didn't get named that, it just became CR10X. But anyhow, all that said, we're here talking about the Sonic Pad. It's a really cool device. I did some of the background research. If you cannot get a hold of the Raspberry Pi, which most people can't right now, for less money than this whole unit costs, you're really getting a value. I think with this $20 off, it's a screaming deal. I didn't even know about that when I agreed to do this, but the Sonic Pad is giving you what would cost you funds in to buy the Raspberry Pi, a display, saving you tons and tons of time with the pre-configuration of the CFGs files, and it basically having the ability to generate or at least pass on the .bin files for the printer, so you can just push it in, take it, and upload the bin, and then connect. It runs you through a little test to make sure that it's turning the fan on and off, fans on and off well. They'll run you through a bed leveling deal, and then you get to come online, which is where this Ender 3 V2 I have on is. I saw that question in the background about the, I think it was a CR10 V1 or V2, CR10S Pro V1. I have one of those. I have not tried it on that. What you will find out, at least from my understanding right now, is unless you have a provided CFG or config file in the database, you're going to have to create your own. And so most of everything that's currently available, and I'm not saying all because things are changing by the minute as they're adding new things to the updates that you can do online. Most of these products that are preloaded on here are the 32-bit controller systems, right? So almost everything that's 2 to 2.5 years old or newer has a 32-bit board in it. They get flashed by a .bin file. That CR10S Pro V1 works off of a .hex file that's manually uploaded through USB, and I would imagine you'll be able to get that put together, but I cannot point you to the exact resources to do that at the moment. The community is working really hard on picking up all the printers that Creality is not directly supporting, and I would be surprised if it isn't another month or two before pretty much most of the major players that have printers to be had will have community-based either config files or other for the newer ones .bin files to work. Following suit, I would imagine that there'll become support for the, not directly from Creality, but through the community for the big Tree Tech boards. I'm not a fan of them, but there's plenty of people out there that are, and I would be amazed if they don't want to be able to use a Sonic Pad to put them together, and somebody will share that with the community once they unlock the source code enough to get them connected and interacting with Clipper. Is there any other questions come up? I haven't seen any pass through the first 3S and Pro Pad. I also ordered the upgraded laser model. It should work with the Sonic Pad, right? Yeah, so I don't know about running the laser through the Sonic Pad because the laser is more of an on-off configuration. My assumption, so we're going to assume, I hate to do that, but my assumption would be you will be able to use the laser with that. My expectation would be that because we're installing a new operating system, i.e. the back stage part of Clipper on the motherboard, when you go to use the laser, I would expect to have to flash the traditional firmware on there to work with the laser, or at least the laser based firmware, and then when you go back to Clipper you would have to do the Clipper back. But all it takes is turning the power off, putting in the .bin on a SD card and powering on, and it should initialize. So other than if you have any configuration files that you want to keep track of ahead of time that you know you'll have to refresh on a fresh installation of the software. You should be able to use both. It's just not going to be super fluid with the laser unless they come in with an add-on to use it through the Clipper firmware that I'm unaware of. And I'm going to dead air. So I'm sort of excited about it. I've never been a big driver for trying to get on the Clipper Go Faster program with the printers. I have the benefit of generally having 6 or 8 printers set up and running at the house at any given time, whether they're beta testers or ones that I've chosen to keep for my own personal use over time. But we're doing some projects for my eldest son. We're making one of the versions of the full-size R2D2 to take to Comic-Cons or whatever with the whole lights and audio and RC remote control and all that stuff. And we're getting into some prints that are currently on the CR10 Max that take up to 12 or 14 days even on the 10 Max just because of the size of the parts. And I would imagine if once I unlock the key to getting into those .hex and older files and we can get it put on Clipper, it will be saving us literally weeks of time per print by being able to use it. So more to come on that. I'm going to have to dig in deep and figure that part out. Sorry, Rob, about the sound being low. I had to switch audio because I could not hear Larry on my laptop with the printer running and the background noise, and my computer speakers are poor. I'll try and speak louder and hopefully that'll help. I'll also check in the background to see if I can increase the audio at all for you. We're at maximum volume. We're as much going as we can there. Is there a complete list of printers available anywhere? So I have not personally seen it. They're literally adding printers daily to the firmware with the ability to reflash or download all the new information through the Sonic Pad and its web-based portal. I have not personally done that yet, but that was how they brought the 4 printer support online. Was a hot update to the OS of this. That seems to be going really good. I haven't heard any reports of it failing to update to the new versions of the software or firmware. So yeah, I have no direct point to point you at. If it was going to be anywhere, I would start at the Creality.com site. Don't waste your time at like CrealityOnline.com or any of those other vendor sites, because they're just going to be mirroring whatever happens at Creality.com. There we go. So there's a list for the upgrades and what's going to be available.
Yeah, that's the customer service from us and asking the question from respond for the to Wendy, asking about the compatible thing. So I think we have some of the printers. Most of compatible printers are all on the list right here. If you just go into our official website, there's a list that's saying November old and November updates. We've got a full compatible printer list that hires 23 or 22 printers that are all compatible to the printers to the Sonic Pad.
I was pretty close to my guess. I thought it was around 20. So my personal guess is, yeah. So my guess is pretty much anything that's on the 32-bit card, which I think is all 22 of those models, 20 or 22 of those models, are all of the newer models. I know that there's 4 different models of the S1
exactly.
and whatever, so you get breakdowns within model, but basically, if it has a 32-bit chip, there should be support now. If there isn't, it'll be within a short period of time. The longer support is going to be getting the support for those older printers that are on the old 8-bits. And I would imagine that's going to happen. I don't see why it couldn't, but I'm not the expert on how much work it's going to take to get the configs put together for them. It's either going to be Creality's going to do it, and they'll be pre-done packages, or the community is going to learn it, and somebody will have some really good videos on this is how you go through setting up through Marlin, using the Marlin queues to develop the CFG for this application.
We have another question from Sebastian. He's asking mainly about yourself. You can just give him the introduction of yourself. Yeah.
So I'm okay with answering that question. Yeah. So I don't want to encourage people to defraud others. I have taken on and run through my system probably on the order of 170 3D printers through that program, and I think that I've had 4, maybe 5 printers where somebody who was unscrupulous bought a new model printer, put their old model printer in the box. At least they're giving something back, I guess, but they shipped back, let's say, CR10 in place of a new Ender 3 Max, and defrauded the seller 2 ways. 1, by not returning the product that they bought, and 2, just by being dishonest. But I do not recommend doing that. Some people do it. I don't think it's a very ethical practice. And honestly, in the end, people like me get hurt because we're buying those at a set price with the expectation of being able to resell them, and when we get it and it's not what we paid for, we're the ones getting hurt, not the vendors, because the vendor's price is built into the Amazon overall program, and they're not getting hurt near as much as those that are dealing with the secondary market.
All right, let's go back to the Sonic pad. So do you find it, right? Have you found any of the hardship using the Sonic pad? That's the most interesting topic that I would like to know.
Right. Yeah, so we started with, I had my youngest son try and set it up on the Ender 3 S1 Pro.
How old is he?
He's 20 years old, and he's generally computer savvy, tech savvy.
Wow. Okay.
And but he had some problems with that. He got hung up with when he got to putting the dot bin into the machine. It wasn't doing the next step where it syncs up and finalizes the configuration. I think I came across the part where he got hooked up or hung up in my process today, but I won't be able to test that on the S1 Pro until I get home this weekend. But generally speaking, I mean, there's some really good videos out there that are going through step by step. It's not, the interface on the console is great. It hasn't done anything it isn't supposed to do. So I think this is going to be more a user error part. Like, part of my problem, it wasn't even the sorry, I got to plug my laptop in. I just got the low battery warning. But the problem was with me, not it. My oldest son didn't put the USB stick in with it, so I'm having to figure out what format my USB stick and SD card have to be put in for it to recognize it. So I just went through reformatting the card until I found one that it liked. So that was my fault, not its fault. But it's like anything with these laptops, or these tablets, or the printers. The discs have to be formatted properly for it to work.
Yeah, probably we should make it more specific or more clear of using, just tell the users which formats you need to go into it. because
And
you're the
as
pro of using the
right,
printers and
mhm,
the software, right? And
right,
if you had encountered this kind of problem, I think most of the other users, especially for the beginners, they will also
mhm,
come into the same, you know,
right,
dilemma of
right,
figuring out what he or she should put in.
yeah,
I think when this comes to this far, it is our responsibility to make everything clear enough to have all the users in clear mind of what they are putting in. That will
right.
that would
And this
be
one's not a
harmful.
heavy lift. The architecture for the machine to recognize. Um,
Yeah.
I ended up with, I think, FAT32 and the 32-bit partitioning. Um, and where I got jammed up is all the old machines and even the newer printers for doing the .bin update. Generally speaking, want FAT32 with the 4096 allocation. So that was basically what I ended up toggling through and figuring out. But yeah, it would be great if we can just put together a fact sheet. It doesn't have to be super fancy. A Word document or a PDF that says this is what you need to communicate with, the 32-bit machines. If they already know, if you want to talk the Sonic Pad to the 8 bits, what baud rate and that kind of data, package that in there, provide that information, because that'll help the community work their way through all the things they want to do. And I'm going to get lambasted in the community. I can't speak for sure because I haven't been tracking, but I'd heard some cries for more access to the source code, that whole community generating stuff or whatever. And I know that you guys are reticent to give out the source code till everything's stabilized, but as soon as it's available or whatever, it will be well received by the community once it's fully released with the source code. But yeah, so for those that don't get a chance to do like I do, in the trenches when you're testing new products or new printers, a lot of times you get to find the deficiencies before it goes to market, right? And it's a good thing that we're doing this, right? It gives us a chance to let Creality learn before you get a finished product. We get a new product for our troubles for doing it. I will tell you that sometimes it's a little daunting. Well, like when I first got the CR10S Pro as its beta unit, I was so excited and I got it going and everything was going well. Then all of a sudden it would not print anything for me. It would not recognize the files on the SD card. And I was just fit to be tied. I was like, did I just break this brand new machine? I don't have the source code for it. How am I going to get out of this? And then a little voice in my head said, hey Luke, you remember on some of the file structures they don't like to have more than 13 characters? And the slicer I was using was making a whatever 15 or 17 character long string for the files. And that was the problem. I renamed the files, everything was good, but it took me a better part of 2 hours to figure out where I went wrong, because I was like, everything was working up to this point, and the key flipper was I had a shorter name file that I went back to and tested, and it worked. So I was like, okay, the printer's not broken, something else is going on with the files, and that's why every time somebody asks about troubles with the printer starting and not running, if you don't already know this, if it starts up for like 2 minutes and just sits there stalled, not moving, you either have over 13 characters on a machine that won't accept it, or you have special characters or files or folders that are causing it to not read through, and that's why it just sits there and stalls and doesn't do anything. So short file names, keep them simple if you can. I know that some people like to store every file they've ever created on the same disk. It makes it harder on the naming convention, but that's what you're going to have to do. Is it possible to use the laser engraver for the Sonic Pad? We sort of touched on this earlier. I don't know how to properly pronounce your name, so I'm not even going to try. That being said, I would suppose over time somebody will unlock the support to use it natively through Clipper with the Sonic Pad. But as far as I know, currently, you'd have to flash the firmware for the base printer to use the light burn or whatever you're using for your interpolated stuff as it's designed with the laser, and then when it's time to run Clipper with the Sonic Pad, you just take the other disk with its firmware, the .bin file on it, put it in there, and then reflash it, and then use it for that. So for a little while, it's going to be a pain in the butt back and forth. I would imagine over time, and if they figure it out, and there's enough cry from the community, there might be two separate profiles within
Yes.
the machine. Will allow you to toggle back and forth with just plugging and unplugging, because most of those lasers are using the fan control to control the laser. Now this is where it gets really complicated, right? There's tons of people that access it different ways or whatever.
Yeah.
If everybody agrees on whatever port they're going to do, and you can find a port that isn't an active used fan port, then everybody can say, let's put it on that port. You could actually basically leave the laser hooked up but not powered up, and just leave it connected, and then when you're ready to use the laser, just use that other profile and it'll work. We're not there yet that I'm aware of, but it shouldn't be that heavy of a lift as long as we have the pin assignments put in Marlin and defined such that everybody's using the same rules. That's how that happens. For those who don't.
So theoretically, it is a yes for you to use the Sonic Pad on it for the use the laser engraver for industry or some other printers you're using with the Sonic Pad, but still the process is going to be a bit complicated for you to actually do things on that. But after you have flashed the firmware, so you wanted to use back onto the printers, do you have to flash it back, or you don't?
Well, as it sits right now, as far as I know, you're either going to flash firmware and 3D print, or you're going to flash it again and laser.
Yeah,
once we have the support within the Sonic Pad, then you'll be able to do both without going back and forth on the firmware. But I do not think that we're there. That's pretty early, and I think some things are going to happen before you guys are going to be able to support that adequately. I could be wrong. I mean, you guys could code it tomorrow or whatever and make a layer out of me, and I'd be okay with that. But generally speaking, they're trying to get all the models that they can accessible. So I would expect that the laser accessory, while it's cool, and I know they got the new laser and everybody's really excited about it. I've had several of my non-printing friends call me about getting printers just because they want to get a printer to use the new laser. And I think that's awesome, but I don't know that it's going to preempt just getting the basic printer support for those that may just want to get a unit and it needs to work on their 3D printer before it works on a laser. So I guess time will tell on that.
So I find myself a little bit lacking at the moment. But so I would also like to know if the process of you connecting multiple printers, is there some tips you would like to share for us of using the multiple printer control?
All right, so I haven't gotten multiples up, but I'll tell you what my game plan is as a power user and somebody who's done other things like this before. My objective would be I would set up each of the 4 printers solo, not as its own, to the Sonic Pad to make sure that it's up and working and connected and you can print with it. I'd go through all 3 or 4 printers I was going to do with that first. Then I would bring them all online together within Clipper, or not Clipper, but within the Sonic Pad. And you might be able to get away with just doing them 1, 2, 3, 4, just all initializing and setting them up. But it's been my experience that it's better to do each printer, each device on its own, so that you don't have a systemic problem that you're fighting across multiple printers all at once. So basically learn one, install the next one, make sure it works, make sure all the features work, then the next one, make sure all of its features work, and then the next one. So just adding one at a time, but making sure each one works and they all work together as you add more and more printers. I haven't got into the hardware part of that. There are 3 USB ports on the machine. I'm hoping that we're going to see more feedback, because I haven't figured it out on if the USB on the back is only for trying to put in running files, or if all 3 ports act as individual ports within the device. And if there's support within the device that if we put on basically one of those USB splitters under the USB format, where you could put the one splitter into a single port and then run all 4 of them off of that port. That part I haven't experienced yet, so I can't speak to it, but that's what my hope is. Comly Tech, does it need to stay connected to the print, or can it be disconnected when the print starts? The whole thing with Clipper is we're taking away the CPU part of executing all of the commands for movement off of the host motherboard of the printer and letting the Sonic Pad do it. So we're going from a 32-bit architecture on the motherboard controlling everything, to now we're on a much faster CPU, sort of talking out of turn, but it's like on a 100K bus instead of a smaller bus, like on, because basically the motherboards on these are not much more than a basic Raspberry Pi or whatever, and now we're taking a laptop or at least higher computing power device with a lot more bandwidth to control it, and that's how we get to go faster, more precise control, and knock hours and days off of prints, because we now have a new faster head unit that's controlling everything. So it does have to stay connected. I imagine the sales on Amazon of long USB cords are going to go through the roof, depending on people's locations and how far they're distributed and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it does have to be mechanically connected the whole time that it's connected to the device. That being said, once they're all mechanically on your little spider web of a network with the Sonic Pad, then you don't even have to be at the printers, because as long as you get your porting set up right, you can remote in through your IP address into the control of the Sonic Pad, and you could be anywhere and start a print and send it, or look in on it, or even just log in to look at the USB camera and all that sort of stuff on. But issues setting up on my Ender 3 Max running on the TH3 and cannot find anything all about how to get it set up correctly. Okay, so I empathize with you. I would watch for Tim from TH3D. I very much appreciate him. He hosts my help guide, and still is doing tons of work for the community, making sure that things work and they have top quality products. And I would be amazed if he at some point doesn't go through setting up an easy board on the Sonic Pad himself natively, if he hasn't done so already. Definitely check into his YouTube page, or not YouTube page, YouTube channel, and look for content related to that. And if he hasn't done that, he has what do we call it, like Tech Tip Tuesday or something like that. You know, he has daily streams where he helps people with stuff or whatever. And if you brought it up as a topic, I'm pretty sure he would support you in doing that, because he supports his boards and his products. So as long as he's figured it out, he'll share it with you. Yeah, so has to go through the board, so there must be a hard speed limit somewhere. Yeah, obviously. Well, here's the deal. At this point with Clipper, we're already to the point where the bus, we'll call it, the data throughput is faster than the machine can execute without ripping itself apart with the dynamic forces happening, right? So I don't know what that throttle limit is, but it's not such that you can't push these things to the physical limits of acceleration, deceleration, even with the curves that the clipper is using to sort of soften the corners and make it not skip steps and all that. Right now, the hardware can't go as fast as the software, so I wouldn't worry too much about getting throttled by buying a Sonic pad versus a Raspberry or whatever. Either product has enough bandwidth that the machines mechanically cannot go faster than what they can provide for information. So I hope that answers your question. Your printer multiplexer. Yeah, I don't know. So I think I get where you're digging at. I would suppose if you had a farm and the USB conventions allowed it, and you could work out sort of how the Sonic pad relates to each printer. If you downstream split it and it worked out, you might be able to run, if the head unit can handle 4 printers and you can split it downstream 4 ways from there, what do you got? 16 printers that can run it all at the same time, with the caveat that they are all going to run well together, and they're all going to shut down together if you get an alarm. So you pull an alarm on one, they all will get shut down. But yeah, I would suppose if you wanted to multiplex, you could, but there's a lot of risk involved with it. So, general thoughts. It seems like the general community consensus is, from what I've seen, is for speed throughput compared to your normal natively sliced Cura-based slices. With using the accelerometer tuning, you can easily push 300% faster without giving up any quality. In some cases, depending on the geometry of the parts, closer to 400%. That is significant. Some people are going to find that they can go even faster, but you might have to up the game on the mechanical side. The faster we go, the deposition rate becomes the throttling factor. So stand by, but I expect to see way more people using either a 50-watt heater or a volcano type hot end, or something that just has a bigger, more capable heat zone to get up your cubic millimeters per minute squared or cubed that you can deposit to keep up with what these are doing. And I'm sure some people will be making some really cool base mode things that are going through a couple kilos in a couple hours or whatever at some point, once they get the right volcano, or was it the super volcano they have that's got there's like a 35 millimeter long meltdown or whatever. But anyhow, yeah, it's going to be kind of a back and forth between ability to execute and upgrading your hardware to maximize the device. And we're also borrowing on the fact that there's been tons of people running Clipper on Raspberry Pis, so we're not reinventing the wheel on that part. There's a lot of information in the community that can be learned from that and gleaned from that, and there's bound to be some cross-pollination and stuff that's going to be brought to people that were never at it before. I will say that as one person that despises creating firmware from source code, I know how to do it. I only do it as often as I'm forced to do it. Part of the reason I avoided Clipper was, one, I had so many printers, so time wasn't a factor for me, right? If we had a huge multiple part thing we wanted to make, I just put more printers on it, and for me, only having more printers meant, unless it was a single part that was just big or whatever, it wasn't really a big time constraint for me. I just put more printers working on it. But for those that are not the software gurus and all about figuring that out, if you have a branded printer by Creality that's already supported in the device, you get to have Clipper without all the headaches. That's what this device is. That's worth almost the price tag of the ease of getting into that. on top of the fact that you're getting something that's equivalent to a Pi 4 that can do everything that it was doing. When the sonic pad is disconnected, will the printer still run as before? So because it's taken the screen offline and doing everything through the pad, it may do that, but, big but, you're going to have to put the old firmware on if you want to run it off of the pad. You can have dedicated SD cards with both on there, as long as your stuff is set up where you're not having to do a bunch of customizations, like if you have to change your stepping values for E and other stuff every time you flash it, that's going to be a pain in the neck. If you create your own firmware and have all that stuff dedicated when it flashes and initializes, where you don't have to do that, then it'd be literally as easy as putting the card in, power off, power on, away you go. Back and forth between the two, you should be able to go back and forth in minutes. So I hope that explains the process there.
All right, thank you, Luke. And so we have been having this opportunity to give all the users, some app users, some ways to discuss about the whether prefer something good or bad about some app, but it actually is still a free tool for you to choose. Like if you want to experience some of the functions. So starting off with the like the multiple printers connection, or to enhance the printing speed of your original printer. But this is at least a good thing for you to try if you want to dig into these printing technology. So yeah, it's like we have a huge amount of the questions are going on, and Luke here we have invited today, and is to share some only his experience of using this. Right? And if you have more questions to go, you are free to discuss this in our Sonic Path group, or you can just find Luke. And Luke, can you tell us where people can find you? Maybe like promos in this stage.
So don't look for me on YouTube. I haven't been doing anything with it. I apologize. I like the use of force comment. If I had a nickel for every time I heard that, I'd be rich. But I appreciate it. I enjoy it. So so to find me, I am not hard to find. If you can't find me in any of the Creality Facebook groups, I literally admin 90% of them. There's a small group that a subgroup of Creality has that I don't admin, but Creality official user group and most of the primary models user groups, I am an admin there. If you cannot find me there, you can contact me directly through Facebook Messenger. It might take me a minute to see you. I have it set so anybody can try and message me, even if they're not friends. As soon as I see you, as long as you're polite and whatever, I will acknowledge you, and when I have time, I will interact with you. I'm all about helping people learn and do better. The Creality team talked to me about the Sonic pads, and I had, I forget the exact count, 6 or 7 of our other mods and admin provided with the Sonic pad so that they could learn it. They could take their experience from learning it to help the other people within the community that aren't necessarily at the Sonic pad group. So we're working that in the background, and we're all getting to learn and share our experiences together. It takes a team sometimes for that kind of stuff. And I actually get the benefit of, because I literally admin over 50 3D printing groups. If there's a problem going on, I'm going to know pretty quick where the sore spots are, so I can talk back to Creality and we can try and nip it in the bud as soon as possible. Generally speaking, we try and get that stuff straightened out at the beta testing stage, but not everything goes perfect in the world, right? Just how it goes.
So we really appreciate all your effort in doing the things within the group, really helping others to get more knowledge about Creality or get more knowledge about how to deal with their printers, and have actually solved heaps of the problems that our users have been encountered. And you see people are very they will also take a lot of salute from you, and I believe that everything you did in this area and helping people, and we really like to appreciate you as one of the user, and we also know the Creality of your user group. That's really big group, quite big group there. And guys, if you are having some of the really tricky problems, you can just go find there, just go post anything with your problem into that
I'm
group.
going to speak to that a little bit. So
Yeah, sure.
we allow anonymous posting. I would not say that's our preferred method. We do screen for anonymous posting, but if you're afraid that somebody's going to identify you with asking a question,
Yeah.
first off, don't be afraid. I put a lot of time and effort in the admin team. It's right in our rules. People are not allowed to tell you to go Google it or expect you to find it in an in-group search. I've even gone as far as to tell people, I don't care if the post before you putting yours up has an explanation for what you're asking. You have no obligation to get it there, right? Sometimes you have to hear it the way you need to hear it. So two other people could have had it solved, but you don't understand how they understand what they've learned. You need it a different way, right? So we very much encourage asking questions. There is no shame in asking questions, even if it's a question that gets asked 100 million times. We have had to have some experienced users leave because they just can't abide by all the new people coming in and learning, but we've developed an awesome community there on the Facebook groups, and as much as I can, I'm trying to keep them that way. There should be very little conflict, and it's an atmosphere of learning. So I strongly encourage you to participate
nice
there.
And a advice on people, on users, especially for the beginners. Just don't be afraid of asking out what is your problem, what is your right now, because people have different kind of problem
Learning
to their
process.
situations. If you don't ask out with your own situation, you just Google it, or you're ashamed to ask out. You just or your problem cannot be fixed in the way that.
I will mention a resource that's available. I don't have the URL to it, but on the main Creality site, there's a link to my help guide. I'm probably overdue to do an update. It's about 3 years old now, but I'm pretty soon I have some stuff to add to it. But it's called the help guide for Creality and others. It works for Creality printers. It works for all of the knockoff printers. It's primarily about mechanically adjusting and tuning the printers, but there's also information about using Cura and other useful information like that. So you can either find that at the Creality.com. They host it there. I think it's in the support section to find that. And then also TH3D Studios posts it in their help section. Part of the reason that Tim appreciates me is he sells an automatic bed leveling system like the CR Touch or the BL Touch or whatever, capacitive sensors, and a lot of his users were returning his product because they were having problems that it didn't solve, right? Well, the problem is their machine was not mechanically repeating, and if you follow the stuff in my help guide, which goes by step through it, it will help you get it mechanically tuned so it repeats time after time after time. And if you're not big on PDF with pictures and words, Jim from the Edge of Tech has done a whole series of videos about that. And then there's also Teaching Tech has some awesome videos. There's, I don't know, not to toot my own horn, but there's probably literally over 100 videos that are sub-based off of my guide, that each YouTube channel has taken a bit and expounded on it or used it as part of their stuff. and which is great, right? It's all about helping people get fixed.
Yeah, help you can build the whole understanding of this whole 3D printing whole techniques. Basically, helps you to build a overwhelmed.
There's some idiosyncrasies to which eccentric wheels need tightened to which amount, and there's some certain things in the frames that you think that they need to be one way that they don't, and I don't have enough time here to explain it all. But if you follow my processes, the processes are proven. They've been, like I said, they've been going on almost over 3 years. Nobody's found any critical errors or mistakes of the processes. They're just solid. They work. I see a question here from Paul about the software on the 3D printer to be able to use the Sonic Pad. You will be generating a new .bin file from the Sonic Pad that installs on the printer that you are then committed, at least until you reflash the firmware, to be using the Sonic Pad to run the printer. But you'll like it because you get a color touchpad and all that kind of stuff. They're asking for a link. I don't have a link to the thing. If I put a link to the thing in the chat here, you can share it with the group, right?
Yes, you can. You can put a link right in the comment and select people to share it in.
Give me 1 second. I got to find the link. It's in my
yeah, no worries.
My thing or whatever. But where did it go? But here it is. I'm gonna copy it. Paste it. I'll paste it in our chat, and you can paste it if you would.
Cool.
So that's the TH3D link. If you go to the Creality site and you look in the either downloads or support section, you should be able to find it there. But we're not trying to hide it. If you, I'll share one more link if you guys want. It's sort of a compilation I have of some YouTube videos about the work. It's not that I'm about self-promotion. It's about when I reference stuff in my guide, I can send people to videos. It's a playlist of videos related to my work, where people that more like videos than paper and print can go and find resources.
All right.
So
well. Here I just sent the link into the chat, and people can see it, and just go find there where they can go. And also here is a YouTube link for one of you. If you would like to learn more, you're more than welcome to click into this one.
Yep, and from there you'll find people, and you can, everybody has their own take on certain things, and everybody learns differently from different people, right? Everybody has their own favorite YouTuber or whatever. You find the one that you like. I appreciate Jim from the Edge of Tech because of what he did with my work. I also appreciate Michael Laws. He and I have worked over time on stuff together. Michael with Teaching Tech does awesome work. I don't have a hyperlink to it, but he has a really good calibration setup through a URL where you can go in there and it teaches you how to check your extrusion multiplier, how to set E-steps. You will find that there's multiple ways to go about that program. Technically there's a combined way, and then there's a separate way. So like I teach to extrude into the air through the extruder 100 millimeters to do the calibration. I always do the base calibration with PLA just because that's been my baseline. It's the most commonly used material. So I set it to move 100 millimeters through it in free air with no resistance, right? At that point, then we print a test cube that has 2 or more walls, and we print it. We check to make sure that the thickness of the walls is correct, which allows for horizontal expansion and to quantify that we're putting the right amount of material in, and fine-tune the amount of material being placed. The other way to do it is what they call directly through the hot end, and that's basically marking the filament telling it to extrude 100 millimeters and keep doing it until 100 millimeters comes through, but I don't find that way to be very good because every material you have to change it. With my method, the E step is set once. You set your flow rate for a given material. So let's say I've got regular PLA, it runs at 95%, and then I use a different PLA plus that wants to be at whatever 99%. When I go to use either one of those, I don't have to go reset my E steps through the nozzle. I can just use that flow rate value, that percentage, the extrusion multiplier, and I could set it for it. If my TPU is a little different, I can just use the TPU extrusion multiplier I've already calibrated. If you really want to cheat and you use a ton of materials that are all over the place, I'll take a felt tip marker and I mark right on the spool what its flow rate calibrates at. And unless you've had a mechanical change in the drag or resistance within your hot end, you should be able to go back to that spool at any point once it's been purged and go right to work. So that's sort of your tech tip for tonight.
All right, that's a lot, and I think it's already been started the live stream for 1 hour, and Mr. Wu is have been talking and answering questions for quite a long time, and and it's pretty late in his local time, and I think we will just call it end of the live stream at today. And the most other thing that I want to mention is that we have to just jump into the online store to order one Creality softpad if you have one, and since we have a lot of helpers here to and official Facebook group there is ready to help you out with the things that you are probably not familiar of, and just like Luke said, don't feel afraid to ask things out, and I think this is a really good way for you to enhance yourself, to improve yourself, in these things.
Yeah, and with that,
and also,
with that $20 off, what does that put it? Right around let's see, I think it was at $159.
Yeah, $159.
So at $140, I mean that's a no-brainer if
Yeah,
you just want your printer to run faster and
and
get the
this time it is the
pre-compiled clipper in a box. I mean,
yes,
really, I mean it's a no-brainer.
So I'll give you guys the promo code again. Just use this one, and when you place an order, enter into PAD20. Okay. So $140, $139 for a clipper pad, and that can be compatible with most of the Creality printers. Also can be able to enter multiple printers at the same time to enhance your printing speed. I think some of the there's a lot of things that you are interested in to find it out. Okay, so wow,
an action-packed hour.
Yeah, and this one only the promo code only valid for 2 hours. Like 1 hour later, this one will it's really limited time, and this is our first song to drop the price for the song. Very first since it's released.
Yeah, get it while the getting's good.
Yeah. So thanks again for joining us, and let's say take care, Mr. Luke, and I hope you have a really good night today and all the coming week. Okay, and everybody else. Let's call it it.
Yep, that's my tagline is happy printing. That's what I finish off with.
Happy printing, yeah. Happy printing, everyone. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, just bye bye. By the way, Sabrina is still looking for people to send in models to decorate Christmas tree. If you are free, yes, this is a good point. We are encouraging more of you guys can be able to join into our Christmas promotion, and that what you need to do is really easy, just to give us some of your ideas of models that can be printed out, and we will print it out and to decorate our Christmas tree in a coming weekend. So it's not too many time left. I think next week on Friday is our activity of the Christmas promotion or Christmas activity in a Creality. So you guys can click into the link that Sebastian has shared in our group chat and go into there and upload your model, and we will print it out to decorate the Christmas tree of Creality. So thank you, everyone. I hope you guys can, enjoy the following week, and happy Christmas in early um, greetings. Okay. All right. Bye bye. And thank you, Luke, again. Thank you.